Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Twist Gaming, where you get to play board games with us. Coming to you live from our studio here in sunny South Florida, bringing you our first look section of our Spotlight stream. But first off, some quick introductions. I'm Matt.
I'm Stefan.
And Josh.
This is Twist Gaming. So if you haven't had a chance, go check out the Spotlight that we just completed, assuming you're watching video on demand. We did WTF, that is What the Film, by Lethal Chicken Games. So before we go any further, I'd like to point out that this stream and all of this week's streams are sponsored by Lethal Chicken Games with What the Film. So big shout out to them. It's a ton of fun. We
For sure.
laughed like idiots, in case you didn't see it. We might still be a little bit red and maybe a little sweaty. That's why my forehead's so shiny right now. I was laughing like a hyena the entire time.
Yeah, for sure.
So the way we're going to do this here is we're going to break this down into 3 sections. So we're going to talk about our favorite parts of the game in part 1. And then we're going to go into any constructive criticisms that we have for the game. And then finally we get into the most important question of the evening, and that is, will you play it again? So first and foremost, let's talk about our favorite parts of the game. Typically, we like to start off with the winner, and I wonder who that could be. A little me. So I really enjoy these kind of like free-form pitch-style games. Snake Oil comes to mind. Even when we play games like Cards Against Humanity, sometimes we do argue your point for your cards on occasion. So I really enjoy that, just the creativity that it brings to the table, and the fact that it's a light, airy game that basically anyone can pick up. It was obnoxiously funny. I don't know what more that I could say, except for, I mean, the art's actually pretty cool on the cards itself, just pointing that out.
Like grayscale, watercolor kind of.
It reminds me of like a movie storyboard that you would see.
Yeah.
Just the pre-layout.
And I'm pretty sure that was the idea they were going with, was that storyboard kind of idea.
Yeah. So just the early concept drawings for the movies. I like that it kind of wasn't just this one card you have to argue your point for, or because I know like Snake Oil is you pick 2 cards and you have to tie them together. I like that this was the 3 defined parts of it, and they kind of got modified by y'all jerks playing stuff like, go ahead and make your movie about fat camping the Grand Canyon with a lucha libre, a tragedy.
And a sci-fi.
A sci-fi tragedy.
We want a Battlestar Galactica, Matt.
Yeah. So there was a lot of variability in the game for sure, and there's a lot of cards. There's like 400 cards, I believe that they said.
Yeah.
436, right? No, 412. They said once they get
it's
there.
going to be 436 when the Kickstarter ends. We're making them add more stretch goals now. Start planning.
Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. But there's a lot of variability of what's going to go, of how the game's going to play out, and then obviously the different groups that you're going to play with are going to affect the way that the game is played as well. So it's a game that can be very dark, as Stefan showed off, but it can also be very family friendly, depending on
your group.
So Stefan, how about you? What were some of your favorite parts about the game?
So you kind of just took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, sorry.
I actually did like that that it can range based on your group, and that's kind of something that you didn't get to experience with Cards Against Humanity. You just kind of went in knowing that it can get dark. It's either dark or darker.
Yeah, or darkest.
But yeah, I actually like that part about it. I personally am not a big movie fan, so I wasn't as creative as some of you guys, but I tried really hard to actually come up with based on the cards I had, and I'm gonna actually segue into that being the second thing I really enjoyed, which was one thing I hated in Cards Against Humanity is like when you have the cards, you're like stuck with them unless you play like those house rules where you can rotate them out and whatnot.
Right.
But if you didn't have the 3 cards you needed to make the story, you actually were able to make use of not only the discard pile, but if nothing was in the discard pile, you'd be able to actually pull it out from the deck as well. And you can actually make your first hand too, so you can just take out some really cool ones, come up with a good story, and then just hope that you draw or have cards available for the rest of them. But I really enjoyed it. Usually in board games you have a lot of fun and everybody's laughing and having a good time. I had a really good time playing this one. But again, I think the group really makes it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to piggyback off of what you were just talking about with drawing cards from the discard pile. So I was a little wary at first about, oh, we're going to see the same cards over and over, but that kind of made it funnier. Where, like, all of a sudden, yes, it's the Dyslexic Accountant 3, run for the money. And you just keep driving the point home, and it keeps getting more and more ridiculous until everyone's like, yeah, that's too funny to pass up now.
Oh, and just also, too, what's really what was I trying to go with? The if you want pro tip, if you want to win every turn, come up with a title as part of coming up with the story, because chat was just they were killing it with the titles. So if you want to win, come up with good titles.
Absolutely ridiculous. Chat was just knocking them out of the park.
And they were quick.
Yeah.
They were.
Oh yeah.
Like they have a delay, and they're like,
yeah, they have like a 20-second delay, and we have a 36-second pitch, and they were pulling them out before we were finished with the pitch, so it's impressive.
Yeah, definitely got to use the titles.
So how about you, Josh?
I had a lot of fun with this. This was I like Snake Oil. I like that. I like a party game where you kind of create your own flavor and do your own thing with it, on like Cards Against Humanity and other ones like that. Snake Oil is a good game like that because you can kind of be creative, and even if your cards suck, I'm like, all right, I have a dyslexic accountant who's at a board game convention and has to kill his wife because the king says
favor. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's throw Dwayne The Rock Johnson in there and make it about the game of Game of Thrones. So we got to throw some fun names in there. We had Adam Sandler in the 51st Graves.
51st Graves, one of the best titles, hands down.
Yeah.
And that was a really stupid plot. It was a gravedigger who worked at death row who forgot what happened the day before. That was the plot I gave, and it basically I said was, this guy wakes up every morning covered in dirt and blood, thinks he murdered someone last night, goes to turn himself at the police station, at the prison. They're like, oh, welcome back to work, Jim. Go back, dig some graves. And he's like, oh, I guess that's what I was doing last night. Maybe he was actually killing people. Who knows?
No, I'm sorry, but just in my head right now, since Adam Sandler, I just have him do like, just covered in blood and dirt. He's like, how am I not digging the grave?
But like that's what we did. It was just silly, stupid stuff and like I don't think anything was restricted. Like the restriction was too much.
Yeah.
Like the plot line was pretty generic. Like I had Batman's story about his parents that met in the Mexican prison.
And it wasn't like specific to a specific so you could loosely base it on anything.
Yeah, but we just had some fun with it. So
it was interesting to try and do an armed robbery on a diving board.
Yeah,
with a dyslexic accountant. Whatever. You make it work.
Make it work. So Billy Madison 2, Working Man.
Still with the titles.
Oh god.
The best one we made it Adam Sandler. That wasn't the actual pitch. It was Adam Sandler.
Yeah. It's just you could add in your own flavor for stuff to make it even more ridiculous.
And yeah, there's a bunch of cards. Just working. I actually kind of like the discard thing because you kind of be like, oh, I have a plot. I have an actor. Oh, no, I have a set. I have an actor. I need a plot. These are my only two plots. I got to deal with one of them.
Yeah, you got to deal with something that wasn't good enough to win before.
Yes, that wasn't good enough to win before. Maybe you have a better actor to do it this time.
Yeah.
Probably how the studios really do it, Be like, we already used this plot. Let's just use it again. New actor.
Exactly. Maybe
same movie
stick
again
this time around.
Just reskin it.
Yeah. Okay, so going into the constructive criticisms part, is there anything that you would change about the game, given the chance to make it a little bit better in your eyes? So, Josh, why don't you start out with that since you ended it on the last one?
So it was. I'm mixed because I kind of like the discard thing. The other thing that would kind of be cool is if there was 3 different decks and you got 2 of each. So you got a set of 6 cards, but you have two sets, to that. And make your hands a little bit easier. If they had different backs, so if you said steal 2 cards, you could be like, oh, I want to steal your actor cards or something like that, and kind of do it that way. I think that would be interesting. The other thing is the industry cards is its own pile, and it has the same back. And I understand the reason for the card stealing.
Yeah.
But it's just one little thing to maintain.
Yeah, because once you get them mixed in, it's a little bit harder for you to separate them. The front of the cards are actually all unique, so the plots don't look anything like the sets and don't look anything like the actors. They've each got all unique symbologies in the top. And the industries have, again, the same. It's a unique top left corner there.
Yeah.
So it makes it, doable
Yeah.
to keep them organized, but at the same time, the different backs would probably aid in that as well.
I would be interested because, like, when we had our discard pile, we actually had them in 3 separate piles, so we could easily grab a set if we needed it or a plot. So it was easy for us to see something like, and it's something you probably just need to play with and see how that works, because this worked. This worked, and the discard thing was nice. Like, so I don't know if that would make it any better or how that would change. You wouldn't have that failed movie plot keep coming up because everyone would always have a new plot.
Right.
And I kind of like that. Like, it was something I thought I was not going to like at the beginning, and I ended up liking. So we have that. The only minor thing is, can you grab the box?
Yeah.
It's, the graphic design's pretty simple. It's not my, this wouldn't yell at me on a store shelf.
Yeah, it doesn't jump off the
or
shelf.
something like that. The funny thing is the gradient in the What the Film is the same as the Spotlight gradient.
Yeah.
Just a funny fact, and I was just going to use the logo, but it just blended in with the actual Spotlight. So I used the box art because it wasn't working. But yeah, it's just a minor thing. Like, I would have, like, I like the storyboard idea. Maybe seeing a storyboard or something on here would be like that would just make it pop a little bit. It's a minor thing.
Right.
It's not something. The other thing is the little tokens.
The tokens for the voting system here.
I like the colored ones. I would actually like to see colored statues and be the statue shape. You're gonna die cut them anyway. It doesn't matter if they're a circle or the shape of the Oscar.
actual,
that would be kind of cool.
The actual.
It's like a minor thing.
Cutout itself.
One of the cool things are that they do have a couple like little quotes next to in the box of random stuff. Not really quotes, just stuff like, ask the person next to you, how much money do you make? What is your worst habit? Do you drop food off the floor when no one's looking? Have you ever had a crush on me? They're just some random questions of something. What do you find annoying about me?
A lot.
Yeah, I was waiting for that. If you had to pick boy bands or 90s R&B.
90s R&B, duh.
Yeah, 90s R&B. Okay. So, Stefan, how about you? What would you alter about the game given the opportunity?
There's not really much from the get-go. I think what's important is just making sure that you play with people that can make this game fun, because I think it just helps, exponentially when you have majority creative people. Like I said, this typically wouldn't be a game that I would initially play unless I was kind of like convinced. Yeah. Because of the type, like I said, snake oil and stuff. It's not typically, I'm not usually good at it, but if you're playing with the right group, and you kind of already know someone's personality, you can kind of guess what they're gonna make with the story. Yeah. I just think that I think that would be one thing important if this hits the table with your game group. Other than that, I liked everything. It was simple, easy to pick up. These games tend to do a lot better in the group that I play with now versus like the big heavy ones that I used to play. So I will give it that. Definitely looking forward to see how well it does on the Kickstarter.
I'm going to have to mimic both of your points there. It definitely is a game that's going to lend itself to whatever group you're playing with is going to make it a better or worse experience. The discard thing, I'm again on the same fence as you, Josh, where I like the having to reuse failed cards, but at the same time, the three of us were flooded with set cards.
I think that was our issue, though. We didn't shuffle enough.
Yeah, I thought we shuffled. It was just, I guess we didn't. It was just a funny circumstance where we had every set imaginable, but we had like the same 3 scripts and 2 actors to choose from, so it was a little ridiculous. It would have been kind of cool to have different piles, so you can like draw the card when you're drawing in the beginning up to 7. You are going to draw specific cards themselves, so you could actually choose yourself. Be like, hey, I've got a really good set here that I want to use. Let me get a whole bunch of different actors to see if I get a good one. But it's also kind of cool to see what you can do with limited resources. Yeah. So
I think a mulligan roll at the beginning would have been okay too. Like that could be house rolled easily. Just like, hey, I have a whole set of scenes. I'm just like keep 1 or 2 cards,
Yeah.
and draw a new hand or something. Like
I think I agree with you there. That
like just at the start, not like throughout the game, but at the start, just to get you a open hand of
Well, at the
things.
start, you get to make your own hand, right?
Well,
No,
start
you
you
just
pick
draw
that,
7.
but if you didn't
Okay.
have any, you
Oh, I
you,
get what
you
you're
go
saying.
in the deck
Okay.
and you find the ones you don't have.
Okay.
So yeah,
So-
I kind of agree there. I think the mulligan would be cool there.
Yeah, I think that's a simple rule to add in. Be like, all right, you can keep as many cards as you want, discard, and draw up to 7 cards again. Make that would actually be a pretty simple fix.
But with that, all of our criticisms are fairly nitpicky in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things. I think we all had a ton of fun playing
Oh,
it.
for sure.
And it's time to come down to the most important question of the evening, and that's: would you play the game again?
Would you watch it?
What do you mean? Would you watch it?
That we made movies. Would you watch your movie?
Oh no, I wouldn't watch your movies. No, I definitely would. 51st Graves, I'd watch 100%.
You know, Adam Sandler lives over here. He's gonna watch a stream and he's gonna make it. He stole your joke. He's gonna steal our movie idea. We could pitch it to him. We'll find him. He's like the next town over.
There you go. So Josh, would you play this game again?
Yeah, yeah. This is. I would top this over Snake Oil.
Stefan?
Yeah, I definitely would, as long as I was playing with you guys.
I would definitely play this again. I would probably put this on the same area as Snake Oil, probably above, just because I like movies more. I think I would definitely play this before Cards Against Humanity. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, besides the fatigue of Cards Against Humanity, I like the
sure.
fact that this is the approved for all audiences.
I
you know?
think this works a little bit better because there's no one set judge,
Right.
which Snake Oil does, and you're not a salesman, and some people can't do sales.
That's
But
true.
you're pitching a movie idea that's a little bit different. It's not a sales pitch. It's a movie idea, and you can kind of freeform it how you want. Where in Snake Oil, you're doing a sales pitch to a certain person,
Gotcha.
and it
So it's more how broad stroke general your ideas
Yeah.
are versus pitching to a specific
Yeah.
personality.
yeah. So I think that's why it has a step up above Snake Oil, and that's really the only game I can think of that's really close to this.
Right.
But it's still leagues different just because of how you play and everything
Right.
else.
All right. So is there anything else that y'all wanted to touch on before we sign off for the evening?
I think that's it.
I think we hit everything pretty
Thumbs
good.
up.
Yeah, pretty good. Definitely
Thumbs
thumbs up. Back it if you
100%
like it.
on Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, 100% on Rotten Tomato. So, guys, check out WTF What the Film. It's going to be on Kickstarter tomorrow, February 13th at noon.
Yep.
We're going to see the debut of it. And, guys, thank you all for joining us this evening. If you haven't done so, go watch the Spotlight section where we played. It is probably just as fun to watch as it was to play it.
Oh,
I wonder if there's any clips of because our pitches were perfect clip lengths.
Yeah, they were. And guys, one more thing to point out, that this stream and all of this week's streams are brought to you by Lethal Chicken Games with What the Film. So signing off for the evening for Twist Gaming, I'm Matt.
Stefan.
And Josh,
Good night, everyone.
good night.